He is a former college soccer coach. He is a broadcaster and he is an author. And he's with us now on the Soccer Media Podcast. Glenn Crooks, welcome to the program.
Thank you, John. Yeah, that author part is still tough for me to spit out, but it's out there, you know? What can I say?
Well, I have a copy of book number 1, which is Put It on frame. Well, and you have a second one, right?
Just last week, I launched this one, so that's why you don't have a copy yet. I'm sorry. You'll get one eventually.
That's okay. No problem. I appreciate it. And we're going to talk about that here on the program in just a couple of minutes. But let's not bury the World Cup lead, shall we? New York is in the World Cup universe. Yay. Championship. Yay. How is the buzz, and is the conversation about ticket prices still a big deal in New York City?
That's become a little more limited. Now, I'm a Jersey boy, John, so
I know
when you stay New York, when the games are going to be in New Jersey.
You're right. I'm sorry.
At the stadium that's no longer called MetLife during the World Cup. It's called New York, New Jersey Stadium, I think. So New York still comes first. And I don't get too crazed about that, but I do find it interesting.
In my defense, the New York Giants and the New York Jets still play in New Jersey.
I know. No, I can understand the mistake. No, the buzz, for me, it's settled down a little bit partly because I'm not purchasing tickets. I am going to be able to cover all 8 games at MetLife for Sirius XM FC and also Fox 5, the local Fox affiliate. And I'm starting to focus more on the teams that are coming in. And there are some just great matchups and great teams. The first game on June 13th is going to be Brazil-Morocco. But the game of the before they get to the knockout stage, because the final is at MetLife in Jersey, France and Senegal. This is such an attractive game for a couple of reasons. Senegal was a French colony until 1960, so there's still some of that going on both sides. On the rosters of both sides, they share dual nationalities in some cases, and then you go back to 2002, one of the great upsets in the history of the World Cup, Senegal beating France in the group stage. France had won the previous World Cup. They were defending European champions, and it was such a significant win for Africa and the African nations. So there's a lot going on in this one. Senegal is very good. And then, of course, they won AFCON and then had it stripped away because they left the field. Morocco was given the AFCON championship. A lot of storylines here, but that's the game for me, man.
Yeah, and Morocco, did they not make the semifinals of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar? Yes?
Until they did that, Senegal in 2002 getting to the quarterfinals was the deepest that an African team had advanced. Yeah, great story stuff.
Yeah, and Morocco with Spain and Portugal are hosting the next go-around of the World Cup in 2030. So it should be fun. I know that everyone I talk with about the World Cup, and we talk about the ticket prices and the transportation and the struggles, almost everybody invariably says, when the tournament starts, especially the promoters of the tournament, when the tournament starts, it'll be all about the football. It'll all be about the soccer. Yeah. Is that how you see it?
I'm hopeful of that, and I do see it that way. It's difficult to get past the ticket prices and the transportation prices. Probably the transportation price most publicized is the fact that originally to get from New York Penn Station to New Jersey and then back was going to cost you $150. Now it's down to $98 because
Whoa, what a deal.
They've achieved sponsorships to help cut the cost. So it's $98 now. But there's another little caveat, and I don't know how they're going to handle this, because as of right now, John, the only people that will be able to get on public transport on the train to get from New York to New Jersey and New Jersey to New York on the World Cup day are those holding World Cup tickets. The New York Knickerbockers are probably going to go to the NBA Finals. Games 5 and 6 of the NBA Finals, one of those two is going to be at Madison Square Garden, meaning people from New Jersey are not going to have a World Cup ticket, but they're going to need to get to the Garden to watch the Knicks game. I don't know how they'll handle that, but it's just another little wrinkle if the Knicks advance.
one of these, that's just one extreme example of the fact that, excuse me, that the local organizers have to put this stuff together and FIFA gets all the money. And I know in 2031, I've been reading that some of the cities that would be host for a World Cup that the women would host in North America are having second thoughts, or at least renegotiating, because they don't want to be stuck with their handout again, trying to figure out how they're going to pay the local costs of the World Cup when FIFA gets all the revenue.
Oftentimes it goes to the taxpayers, and that's what a local municipality, a local government wants to completely avoid. All you read about initially is the wealth and the substantial money that's going to be earned through hosting, being a host city for the World Cup, with the hotels and the food, everybody that's involved. And it's been interesting that hotel prices are starting to drop dramatically because they are not filled up, or there are people that maybe originally were going to travel that aren't. I mean, there are so many factors. It's been difficult to move away from those talking points, but the soccer will rule at some point, John.
Yeah. You talked about Senegal and France. Senegal is one of those countries that the U.S. State Department doesn't want to allow the fans to come from that country, or anybody from that country. So, but at least they dropped the $10,000 fee that you'd have to get to pay to get a visa. So anyway, things are looking up.
But you get that back at the end, John. You get that back at the end, but you have to come up with it up front. Yeah,
I scraped together $3,000 just to buy a ticket in the nosebleeds, and now I have to put down $10,000 and then hopefully get it back. There's no guarantee you get it back, but I guess they're glad to give it back if you leave the country. Anyway, so USA, we won't know until next week. We're recording this on Friday, May 22nd. So folks may be listening or watching this at a time that doesn't seem to fit, because the roster is being announced on May 26th. But as we speak, how do you see the USA fitting into the big picture of the World Cup, Glenn?
Well, I am going to be at the big roster reveal gala in New York City. So
it is in New York City. I'm sorry.
It is. This one's in New York. This one's not in New Jersey. And Sirius XM FC will have our own little area and table, and we're going to get 3 or 4 players and hopefully one of the coaches after the roster is revealed. The biggest intrigue on the roster for me is Gio Reyna in or Gio Reyna out. And the people, and I might be in this field too, that would like him to be in despite his lack of minutes in the Bundesliga this year, is due to the fact that Paraguay and Australia, whether you think we can beat them handily or get past them handily or not, will probably play defensively in a way where you need a really creative midfielder or attacking player who can help break down these low blocks where there's a lot of numbers behind the ball. And Reyna, that's part of his game. That's actually a massive part of his game, is his ability to unlock. Now, Diego Luna can do that as well. I think Luna is a lock for the 26, while Reyna is not, mostly because of his lack of playing time. And I think Mauricio Pochettino, since he's arrived, one of the things he has talked about is minutes played on the club level. But he's also kind of fallen back into a more recent, in March when I was in Atlanta and he was doing the pressers there, where it was maybe less about playing minutes for your club and being the right fit for the team. Maybe not the best player, but the right fit for the team. So I think there's a lot of intrigue with the final roster around Gio Reyna. And now Xavier Gozo, this young kid that's playing for Real Salt Lake, there's a huge push for him to be included in the 26, a dynamic attacking player, brings something that maybe the U.S. doesn't have, that kind of quality. And apparently, according to Doug McIntyre of Fox Soccer, he is on a preliminary roster list of 55, which was never released officially. It was never announced. But Doug is reporting that he's on that list of 55, which gives him a chance to be selected on the day it's revealed. And again, if people are watching or listening to this after it's been revealed, then you already know. But I think those are the 2 fairly significant storylines.
Yeah, and there's really if you have a spot for it, and the roster's expanded a little bit, if you have a spot for it, a 17-year-old future current superstar being a part of the spectacle, a part of it for future considerations is not a bad thing. Glenn Crooks is the voice of the New York City Football Club. He is a former coach of Rutgers University women's soccer team for 14 seasons and the author of Put It On Frame 1 and 2. I'm John Schrader, and he's with us here on the Soccer Media Podcast. All right, so again, we flashed the books. What are they all about? Why did you do it? And why did you do it a second time, knowing what it takes to author a book? Okay.
Well, it turns out one day I just started counting. It turns out that since I retired from Rutgers in 2014, I've continued to coach on the club level, but that full-time commitment, I moved into broadcasting, the New York City FC gig. And then I started hosting a show called The Coaching Academy at Sirius XM FC, which is a 24/7 soccer channel, the only national radio soccer channel in our country. It's a subscription service, but I think it's worth it to get soccer 24/7, plus the Springsteen channel and everybody else that's on there. So what I counted up was over 1,200 interviews that I've done for the channel since the beginning. And it's mostly coaches or coach-centric or experts in the field. So, and I kind of stretch the boundaries of it just because I think passion and culture, leadership, obviously, all these things contribute to the coaching game. And I've had some unbelievable guests on the show. And I thought with these books, I could resurrect some of the interviews. Emma Hayes kicks off the first book, Put It On Frame, the U.S. women's national team coach, and it goes from there. Tony Meola kicks off the second book, Put It On Frame 2. He wrote the foreword for my first book. He's a national team goalkeeper, a National Hall of Fame goalkeeper, former national team keeper. And Tony's just excellent in breaking down the game. So I have a goalkeeper chapter in the second book. And it just allowed me to share some of these interviews that, John, have gone into the abyss. They're gone. No one's going to hear from them again. And so I was lamenting that a little bit too. And so they're now, some of them are going to be in a book. I've got a third coming too. And then after that, I will likely retire as an author. But the third book will come out in early 2027. So there you go.
Holy cow. Ambitious, ambitious. Well, we know these are two different media, broadcasting and book.
Yeah.
Even newspapering, if we still read newspapers. New York City people still read newspapers. I know that, but maybe the rest of the country doesn't as much. But they're different media. So how do you make it snappy and lively and fresh in print form from something that was a verbal and oral conversation?
Well, I think more importantly, from my standpoint, and this is one of the great compliments I got from the first book, two things that were said. One was, and this is from some prominent people, every coach should consider reading the book. And that's because in each Q&A, in each conversation, each interview, there are little nuggets that you can pull from it. And it's for coaching, yes, but it could be like the leadership chapter. My nephew, who's not into the game of soccer, he read it, and he's in a management position. He leads people, and he thought there were a couple of interviews that really helped him decipher some things that he might be able to use. So it's more putting something into print that is hard when you're driving around listening to the show, right? You're driving and you hear something interesting that's said. Well, you can't write it down. You're driving. So, and then at the convention this year, people came up with it, and they showed me where they had marked it off in, the yellow highlight markers, certain things. So that's the stuff for me that I'm happy about it. To me, it's mission accomplished when that sort of thing happens.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to tell me who your favorite child is, sort of, right? Who among all of the people you've talked with and you put into print said some things that you said, holy shit, this has got to go in here. This is the most fantastic thing I've ever heard.
Oh, so That is a difficult one.
I know
I
you
should,
can't pick your
I
favorite
should
child.
have
Yeah.
an answer for that by now, because you're about the 10th person to ask me that, and then I always forget because
Well,
I
darn
don't.
it, I'm the 10th person. Darn
Well,
it.
well, I maybe I might be exaggerating. I don't know. It seems like it. It seems like it. I will tell you. I'm just gonna. The first person that comes to mind, because I thought he had such an interesting story, was Mark Dos Santos. He's the LAFC coach. He won an NASL championship with San Francisco, their only year of existence,
Mm-hmm.
and then the league folds after that, and the team folds. The league folds, I think, a year later. He is, I believe, he's an exceptional coach, an exceptional leader of men, but his story, he's of Portuguese descent, so very young coach living in Montreal decides, I'm going to Portugal and I'm going to try to find this guy, Vitor Frade, who is teaching that country and is instructing something called tactical periodization. I have to learn more about it. He said he had no money in his pocket. He had a credit card with not much available and a backpack. He literally said, backpack, no money, hopped on a plane after getting the ticket and then searching this guy out, and finally got an audience with him. And he said that walk at the stadium where they were through the tunnel, that walk of just a few minute walk, he said, changed his coaching life, being able to talk to this guy. And then he had further conversations. So I really love a story like that. That's just, here's a guy just in search of one man. He couldn't get to see him right away either. He's knocking on his door, and there's some real value in that. And to me, that's passion. And I will say this, John, I think the people, most of the people I've talked to over the years, out of that 1,200 plus, have a passion for what they do.
Yeah.
But I think especially the people that I've put in these books, they are just so passionate. And I think it does come out through the pages. I really do.
Yeah. I'm going to shift gears now to the broadcasting you do on the radio and NYFC, New York City, NYCFC, New York City Football Club.
A lot of people leave the C out.
Not about it. Got to get that right. As a broadcaster, we not only practice it, but we teach it. Get it right. New York City Football Club. Now, you made your transition from college coaching into play-by-play. Now, this is my opinion, and you don't have to comment about it, but I'm not sure Major League Soccer gives radio the proper due it should get when it comes to especially the Apple TV deal. You can do the home games, but you don't get the road games that get tied into Apple TV. I could talk to Abramowitz at your place and talk about the no respect they have for Spanish radio on Apple TV. Are you happy? He sets it up, the fastball down the middle to mix sports metaphors. Are you happy with the way MLS treats the local radio broadcasters?
Well, the way we're treated, I don't know if I would put it that way, but here's where my disappointment lies with the first year of Apple. They started this. It's an app. It's a drop-down app, lower right-hand corner, and you can get your English hometown radio. The fact that there's no Spanish, I think, is regrettable. No question about it. But here you had your English hometown radio. During the broadcast, on the TV broadcast, the Apple TV broadcast, the broadcasters, once each half, would do a little promo saying, if you want to listen to your hometown broadcasters, you can do that, and here's how you do it. So they were actually promoting it. In their original release about Apple, they promoted it. But since that first year, they have not. There's not a mention of it. And I think that's regrettable, because one of the things they were selling this Get Your Hometown radio broadcast is that it's the local voices. Right. And there was a lot of noise about all these regional networks losing their local guys. In New York City, it was Joe Tollison and Ian Joy. And they were honestly beloved figures in the community. You know, they were on the Yes Network and doing all the games. So with the radio, we're at all the games, and it's been such a privilege with the club. We travel to all the games and we obviously are home for all the games. So we, I think, provide even a little bit more because we're on the road with the team, and you know, that's where you come up with stories sometimes, and you know, a lot of things you can't say that you learn when you're on the road too.
Yeah, no,
but it
no
gives
kidding.
you a little bit more perspective. So I think we have so much to offer, and the fact that the road games are not part of this Apple package is also disappointing, because I've talked to audio people within the Apple framework that say it's not that big a deal. It's something they could do, because the original thing was, well, all the radio teams don't travel. And that's true. Majority of the radio teams stay at home to do the road broadcast.
Which is also regrettable, Glenn. That's also regrettable. Yeah.
Well, the league, I don't think the league can control that. That's up to the teams, you know, that. And a few more are traveling now than used to, maybe at the start. But, you know, that's why I say we're privileged and fortunate, because our side has always funded that opportunity to go on the road. But there is a way, whether you're home or especially if you're at the stadium, but if you're home also, there is a way to plug it in. There's absolutely a way to plug it in so that people can get both the home and road home team, you know, your home team broadcasters. There is a way to do that. And I think that's disappointing that they haven't made the effort to make that happen. So that's what I'll say about all that. It's not, the awareness is not there. I think all teams should be mandated to make their communities more aware, because most clubs don't do that either. So that's just it. Make people more aware that it exists, and why you took it off out of that little script out of the television broadcaster's hands to read once a half. I think that's regrettable.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know that Apple is aware of it. Apple knows they could do it easily, and they know the criticism that's coming from these quarters, because, to be frank with you, I've presented those criticisms directly to them.
I know you have.
Before we go, Glenn, I probably should have asked you this earlier, but it may be a good way to end. How does a guy go almost directly from coaching college soccer to becoming a soccer play-by-play announcer on the radio? Oh. Was there a transition there? What happened?
This is a good story. Well, when I got out of the University of Georgia, which to this day does not have a Division I men's soccer program, I didn't go there to play soccer. I didn't go there to coach soccer. I went there to become a broadcaster. I studied journalism and communications. And when I got out of college, I immediately got a full-time sports director position at WMTR, WDHA in New Jersey. One of the people that hired me is a guy named Mark Chernoff. Mark Chernoff eventually became the program director of WFAN, the largest all sports radio station, one of the original all sports radio stations in the country, still all sports radio. So when at the timing of my retirement from Rutgers, the New York City Football Club was about to begin a year later. And what happened next was unbelievable. I called Mark pretty much out of the blue and just said, Mark, you know, I'm going to retire from Rutgers, and I'm really looking for broadcast opportunities, but especially in soccer. You know, back when he hired me in 1980, there was no soccer on the radio. And he was just like, well, you're not going to believe it, but we just signed a contract to get the New York Yankees. And one of the provisors is we have to carry the first 3 years of this new soccer team. I don't know anything about. Maybe you've heard of them, the New York City Football Club. I said, oh, yeah, of course I've heard of them. So he didn't just give me the job. I still had to make a tape. And I made a tape with the guy who I started the games with, Tom Kolker. We went to a Sky Blue game. That's the women's team that became Gotham at Rutgers, which is right down the road from me. Tom brought the equipment. We each split play-by-play in color, either half. And that's the tape we gave Mark Chernoff. And I got hired to do the games. And ironically, also, the president of the club at the time was Tim Pernetti, who previously was my boss at Rutgers University. He was the athletic director. So you talk about things coming together and timing. It was really, that's the story, and I'll stick to it. I think I'm pretty good at what I do, but it's nice to have some of those connections too.
Well, it also says, and we share this with young people all the time, if you work hard and you're decent with people and you trust and you're loyal to people and you're honest, maybe somewhere down the road, 35 years later, they'll hire you again.
Can you believe
Right? I mean, it's
35
pretty
years
simple
separating
formula.
that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We had kept in touch, but not like
Sure.
that regularly. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, and it's really what a wonderful gig. It's really I'm so fortunate to be able to just sit up in the perch and just talk about the game and paint the pictures. I love the radio. I studied radio. I was in radio for a very long time. I stumbled onto coaching. I mean, that could happen completely by accident. So it happened. I really got into it. I left broadcasting, coached for full time for a long time. Now I'm back into broadcasting. So I've been pretty fortunate.
Well, that's great. Glenn Crooks is the author of Put It On Frame, and then he decided to do it again and called Put It On Frame 2, and apparently there's going to be a Put It On Frame 3
there is
coming out soon. So you better
I
go.
do want, if I could say, there's a special World Cup chapter in
Okay,
Put It
good.
On Frame 2. Tab Ramos, Eric Winalda, I interviewed them both together, and really insightful stuff that really nobody's heard, because I moderated a panel at the convention. There were only 100 people in the room, which was crazy. It wasn't recorded except for me for a transcript purpose. So that was not a Sirius XM interview. That's one of the few that didn't come off of Sirius. And Greg Berhalter, when he was the full coach and full team national team coach in 2019, stuck an interview in there with him. So it's and my own experience in Qatar. I was there for the group stage and wrote some columns about that. So and Grant Wall, who passed away at the World Cup, just a tragic death. I interviewed him about his book, which I think is like a coaching manual, Masters of Modern Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I dedicate the last chapter of the book to Grant, who I sat next to for all 3 World Cup games that I covered in Qatar. So it's it was fun to put together, and hopefully those that get it will enjoy it.
Well, the lesson to young broadcasters, whether they're from the University of Georgia or the University of Nebraska or wherever they went to school, is that record everything, because you never know when you're going to use it or how you're going to use it, right?
I like that. Yeah. And it's
go.
true. It's absolutely true.
It is true, yeah. Glenn Crooks, again, the author of Put It On Frame, and you can get it where you get your books, right? Wherever
you get your books, go get it.
And he's been with us on the Soccer Media Podcast. I'm John Schrader.